Victoria Churchill's back on from Young Voices and 8 other jobs you're always switching around with. Your thoughts? You just heard the 2 sound bites back to back. Explain the slow-moving transition of Jasmine Crockett's accent.
Well, it's really interesting. To me, this mirrors just about everything that we saw happen with Kamala Harris when she was running for president, of course, last year. Kamala was switching up her accent regardless of where she was, on the campaign trail that day. I remember this from, my time covering the campaign trail last year. But now in my current role at the Daily Mail, I cover Congress, and we see some very interesting things from Jasmine Crockett. Again, she's on a lot of stages. She likes to garner a lot of attention. She's really making a name for herself as one of the people most outspoken against the president's agenda. And, she, I think, is trying to kind of make herself a lot more palatable to everyday Americans, regardless of the fact that she has a law degree. She went to an all-girls private Catholic school. And, she's really trying to make herself a woman of the people instead of really this kind of posh and upscale upbringing that she appears to have had.
Right, and we just reviewed that in the last segment. $35,000 a year for her junior high and high school, $70,000 a year to go to Rhodes College, or $74,000 a year to go to Rhodes College, and then $40,000 a year at University of Houston Law School. If you add it all up, junior high, high school, college, and post-grad, almost $1 million have been spent on her education, yet she's out here pretending like she doesn't know how to conjugate her verbs, Victoria.
Yeah, and, again, it is very, very shocking. But, I guess that's really what happens, right? Like, that she feeds off of attention. She feeds off of particularly social media attention. There was an incident, just a few weeks ago during the Texas floods that she went on TikTok to talk about, everything that was going on, of course, obviously Texas being her home state, which is why, I'm sure you guys over in Dallas cover her quite a bit. But the other thing with that is that she actually had people commenting on her hair during that video. And then she ended up commenting back and being like, oh, thanks, I just got it done, yada, yada. And so basically she took that social media attention and redirected it onto herself outside of the victims of the flood, which I think is just kind of just one in a string of incidents that we've seen her, again, really do everything that she can to capitalize on media and just get as many eyeballs on her and whatever she's saying, however she's saying it, whatever it may be any certain day.
Well, I slightly disagree with you there. I don't criticize her for that because it's working. Now, I disagree with the, sort of the ethical component of making it all about you or code switching your accent or pretending to be dumb, like pretending to not know how to conjugate your verbs when you obviously do. But, Victoria, it's working. What does this say about her voters, number one, and just like the people in the media, that keep inviting her back for interviews and having her on and highlighting her and stuff? It works, Victoria.
Well, it does. I mean, again, she garners quite a lot of attention anytime that she does anything different. I know I cover her in my job. But, again, I think it's really important here to look and underscore this because, I think not a lot of people know what the future holds for her. Obviously this discussion over the Texas and the redistricting maps, it looked like, at least for a while, that she was going to get actually redrawn out of the district that she currently, holds. There was an episode that she did on a podcast with, liberal commentator, host, Mahindi Hassan. I believe it was before the break, so I guess it was, over a month ago now, where she said that she kind of had her eye on her exit plan for the House. So, maybe she's looking to jump into that Texas Senate race. Of course, that's, getting a lot of attention, I'm sure, from you guys as well. But, either that's leaving the House for the Senate or, maybe she even might be looking at a presidential run. But, she definitely knows.
She should. As much as I disagree with her politics, as much as I think it wouldn't be good for the country, she would be dumb to not try and take this to the next level. Because, Victoria, there are 435 members in the House of Representatives, and you and I could maybe identify, or the average person could maybe identify 10, 20 of them. Yet she's the one that's getting the most attention out of 435 people who are trying to get as much attention as possible. So I think the sky's the limit for her.
Yeah, and I mean, again, like I said, I cover her. She is definitely very interesting to cover. But she even is willing to call out other members of her own party. I was doing a piece just the other day about kind of Chuck Schumer and how his role, I guess, obviously formally he is the Senate Minority Leader, but based on polling, including polling that we've done at the Daily Mail, he's not very popular, neither with generic voters or really with members of his own party. There's kind of this constant narrative that we keep talking about as who is the leader of the Democrat Party. And, Crockett, just a few months ago, I believe this was back in February or March, she called out Schumer for backing a stopgap funding bill, which, overall kind of a boring topic, but this is basically overall kind of the messaging that played out on this was that Schumer caved to Trump on something. And so, she's been one of these people right there in the fight that's been willing to come out and say old leadership in the party isn't working. And I think intrinsically say, old leadership isn't working, but here I am, really presenting herself as an alternative to the old guard in the party.
Yeah, that's right. You're working at the Daily Mail, too, now. I forgot about that. Victoria Churchill, what's some of your latest work? I want to look it up.
Oh, gosh, today we've got a very interesting story again because I'm covering the Senate. It's quite an interesting element here of Laura Loomer. Of course, she seems to have Trump's ear at least on something. She went off about Senator Mark Warner. That's going to be my next story I've got going up. And then, yesterday, of course, we've got some very interesting coverage with Congress being back. They just ended their month-long August recess. So, right now they're working on the Epstein petition with Thomas Massey. That's what's been hot here on the Hill. On the Senate side, we've also got the judges. Trump went off against Chuck Grassley, longtime Republican. I believe he might be the oldest serving member, at least right now, and he's definitely up there kind of in the record books for how long he's been in the Senate. But Trump went after him about a week before Congress came back for not confirming his judges, and Grassley fired back, but he really kind of seems to have the fire under him, talking about the confirmations that they're working through this week on judges. So again, not something that's super glamorous, but definitely something that's gotten the president fired up.
Yeah, we'll be talking about some of that later in the show. Thank you very much, Victoria Churchill. You find her at the Daily Mail and about 18 other places online. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.